And after this roundtable, we have Paul that will stay to present Virtually a Reality, the new world of pediatric healthcare. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Need some water?
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. You're with me for a little while longer after the roundtable there. But it was a fantastic roundtable. It was nice to speak to my colleagues here, and I'm sure I'll be speaking more with them after the meeting. And to thank the organisers from i4Kids, the whole team, many of whom I've met in partnership, in collaboration, in previous meetings, and it's a pleasure to be here. And it's also a pleasure to see so many people. Who'd have thought paediatric innovation could get this many people in a room? It's fantastic. When I walked in, I was late because I had to come from the UK this morning, but I walked in and thought, wow, this is great. So many people. I'd love to see this in the UK as well. So I'm going to start with a history. And the history's not long, but where I started in the UK with developing a network to support child health technology. And it started with this, which is Titch. But I'll take you just a step before that. So I've had a number of different research leadership roles over the last 10 years or so. And one of them was to do with a Medicines for Children research network in the east of England. I was deputy director there at the time. And I used to go to meetings and we would talk primarily about research, commercial or non-commercial research. And every time I got to that meeting, there was a section on medical technology. And we'd get to that section and you'd say, who's developed something in health technology? And then we'd just move on. There was silence in the room. And I thought, we're missing something here. Because I knew that there were some great things going on in adult healthcare. And I thought, well, what about pediatric healthcare? Why are we so devoid of technology? We have an opportunity here, because after all, we keep saying the same thing. Children are not small adults, therefore they need their own technology. So I got together with a team in Sheffield. So I live just outside Sheffield in the UK, which is in the east of England. I got together with a team and said, we're doing a lot of this sort of stuff locally. We're developing technology, but shouldn't we be doing this nationally? So we went on a roadshow around the country with a number of different hospitals and said, well, what are you guys doing with technology? And they said, well, actually, we've been thinking the same thing. And I said, well, let's form a network, because everybody perceives the pediatric health technology market as small. And actually, it's not. It's a sizable market. It's just it's untapped. And we formed this network, Titch, Technology Innovation Transforming Child Health. And we ran it from Sheffield. The next thing we did was we did our homework. And actually, this comes back to the previous speaker's idea about the consumer. These people here are our consumers. They are the people that we look after. They are the people that ultimately we've got to deliver for. And so what I did was I got lots of people in different workshops talking about child health technology. Where are the unmet needs? What do we need to do to affect change? And that wasn't just healthcare professionals. We had academics from various different institutions and various specialties, gaming, software developing. We had people from engineering. We had funders in the room. And we worked out where the unmet needs were. And we had loads of them. And then we had a real challenge on our hands, because we had to categorize those unmet needs. And actually, what came out top was quite broad, which was this idea of remote monitoring and also about self-management. And actually, self-management makes sense. So I'll take an example, diabetes. I'm a pediatric endocrinologist. I don't do diabetes, but I did train in that area. And I used to always think, am I really making a difference? I see these patients for 15 minutes, and the next time I see them is 3 months later. And they self-manage. And actually, a lot of healthcare is like that. So what we've got to try and do is facilitate that in a way that we can help people to self-manage better to improve healthcare and improve the lives of these children. Anyway, we worked with a number of different funders, and actually, through working with funders, this was the biggest competition here, Small Business Research Initiative, which is funded by NHS England. Through that process, there was £4.2 million awarded, 3.2 million of which went to 5 companies. And this was a game changer for child health technology. This was the moment where I thought, we're onto something here. We had 81 applications to this call. 2 rounds, first round 9 companies got 100,000, second round 5 companies got up to 1 million. And actually, what then happened was a lot of things happened very quickly, is that we got really, really busy. And then I thought, right, we've got a problem on our hands. We are managing, it was me and a program manager. I was doing this in my spare time, and my program manager I funded. And we were just getting more and more requests for doing things. So we thought we needed to get funding. So this is the NIHR, the National Institute for Health Research Infrastructure. It's got lots of different parts to it that are focused around innovation, evaluation, and adoption. So there are biomedical research centres, clinical research facilities. In amongst those are what are called the NIHR, MedTech and In Vitro Diagnostic Cooperatives. It's a real mouthful to say. And there are 11 of these. We applied for funding in 2017, and we were successful. And we formed the NIHR Children and Young People MedTech Cooperative, the only one of, we call them the MIX, MedTech and In Vitro Diagnostic Cooperative. The MIX, it was the only paediatric-focused MIC. And the way I created it was actually by a consortium approach, because actually to do things just in Sheffield isn't enough. If you go to a company and you say, look, we're working across multiple different hospitals, actually the commercial offering is really good. And the opportunity for development or collaboration, development and adoption is also really good as well. So we developed these 7 themes, really focused on clinical areas, so cancer, respiratory and sleep, transition, rare diseases, ventilation, which has now moved into respiratory and sleep, epilepsy, movement and muscle disorders, and surgical technologies. And we now have neonatal technologies, which is a 7th theme as ventilation has moved. And we are pretty technology agnostic. We don't say we're just doing immersive reality or we're just doing data analytics. We will work in any technology area or we'll support work in those areas, right the way across the board. Got a lot in immersive reality, we've got some machine learning, sensors and assistive technology, we do some work around mobile apps. And we work right the way across the innovation pipeline, but primarily in these sort of first 5 areas, from idea or proof of concept through to clinical evaluation. But I wanted to also show you this because this innovation pipeline, if you put innovation pipeline into Google, it will stop there, one from the end, diffusion and adoption. And the bit that's always missing in the innovation pipeline is acceptance. If people don't like the technology, they'll put it in the cupboard and it will gather dust and someone will find it years later and go, oh, what's this? Acceptance is hugely important. Acceptance within a clinical pathway, acceptance by the service provider and the service user, which is the children and families. If they don't like it, it won't get used. And we work in 2 areas, but I think we're mainly focused on this side, unmet needs in child health. So this is the market pull. And actually, for those that work in healthcare or work with children and young people, they will tell you what the problems are. People will tell you. Actually, they might not tell you directly. You'll hear someone moaning, oh, I hate this. This always happens in my job. And you say, well, why don't you change it? There is something out there that can make that change. And every time I give a presentation to healthcare professionals, I say, go back to your work and find the thing that irritates you most. And then chat to someone to see how you can change it. Because I can guarantee you it will be changed, or it can be changed. It's just you need to find the right people to do it. Sometimes we work in the field of technology push, where actually great technologies come through and we start to think, how can we utilize those in healthcare to affect change? I think this is the harder area, the technology push. But ultimately what we do is that we put patients and families at the heart of everything. So really the sort of 3 main players around here are academia, industry and health. And we work on the principle of technology designed for children, with children. My view is if children and young people and their families have not been involved in developing those technologies, then the chance of failure is greater. So this is what we've done in NIHR so far. So one of the things about working in this field, and many of you that do will realise that you keep moving forward and forward, and sometimes you don't get enough time to look back and see what you've done. And actually we did this for a few years back in 2021. So we looked at our activity from 2018 to 2021, and we realised actually how much we'd achieved in a short space of time. We'd leveraged, it's now over £10 million worth of funding. That doesn't all come to Sheffield. That's supporting companies to get money, that's supporting research grants, that's some of my own research grants, my colleagues' research grants, but ultimately we have leveraged over £10 million for child health technology. We've worked on 173 different projects. Some of them we've just provided advice, some of them we're leading on. But importantly, speaking of collaboration, over 50% of them involve an industry partner. An industry can be SMEs, 123 SMEs there, or global companies. And global companies are actually easy to work with when you find the right group of people to work with. And for example, I work with colleagues from IBM. They're a great bunch to work with. So global companies are sometimes difficult to access, but great once you get the right people. We look after PhD students and mentor them. We hosted the first Robotics in Pediatrics and Child Health Showcase in the UK. I'll come to the Child Health Technology Conference in a minute. And we publish newsletters, we publish in peer-reviewed journals. And that number of peer-reviewed journals has really gone up in the last year. And this is the Child Health Technology Conference. This is great, actually. This studio does not exist, okay? This is a virtual setup. So we did this online. So you'll notice somewhere on the top there, there's Begonia up there, who was one of our esteemed speakers in Child Health Technology 2022. We ran the UK's first Child Health Technology Conference in 2021, and it keeps getting better and better, and our speakers are fantastic. And actually, this is all online, but we work with a company that creates a whole virtual studio environment that if I told you what I was really sitting at, you'd think, no, I was on an old school desk in an old chair, not in that lovely looking studio. And I would strongly encourage you to join us for CHT 2023, which has already been announced. The dates are announced, it's online, and I'd love to see you all there. We're going to do it virtually again, not because I don't like meeting people, because I love meeting people, but actually because I want to create, exactly as we've discussed in the previous session, a global community focused on developing technology for child health. So I'm now going to talk just about a few of the projects that we've been working on, just to give you a flavour of the type of things. So, so this is the first one. This is a colleague of mine, Professor Heather Elphick from Sheffield. She looks after children who are on non-invasive ventilation. And one of the problems that, when she spoke to parents, and again, this is the value of speaking to parents, she said, is there a problem? They said, yeah, there is a problem. The problem was that the mask that the children used was developed from an adult mask. It was just made smaller. But think of kids. Most kids have a round face when they're young, and their face gets longer as they get older. So how can a long mask fit on a round face? And of course it doesn't. So what then happens is that the machine alarms because the seal on the mask is not correct. And that keeps the families awake overnight. So they sort the problem out themselves. And what they do is they tighten the mask as tight as possible. Creates a fantastic seal. The problem is it creates facial deformities. So there's midfacial hypoplasia there, which means the middle of the face hasn't developed. And there you've got quite significant scarring there. For some children, they've got the faces pushed to one side because the mask is so tight, the facial deformity, or the face starts to form in one direction. So what she then did was said, well, okay, let's take the technology that's available and create bespoke masks. And actually the concept is really simple. In reality it's harder, but the concept is simple. What you do is you create a 3D map of the face, and then you create a computer-generated mask that goes over the facial topography that fits perfectly. The computer will get that to fit perfectly, and see that on the top right there. And then what you do is you 3D print it, and you've got a bespoke mask for a child. And then what you can do is once that mask stops fitting properly, you chuck it away and make another one based upon the new facial topography of the face. So here's an example of market pull, a problem that was looking for a solution, and the solution was 3D facial mapping and 3D printing. This is something we're just working on at the moment. We're doing the evaluation of this. We call, so when children are not brought to clinic, we used to say DNA, did not attend. But that changed because actually when you say did not attend, it puts the onus on the child didn't attend. So we now say was not brought. In other words, someone didn't bring the child. And what we want to understand is why children don't come to clinic, why parents don't bring them. Because actually it's an incredibly high expense for the National Health Service. It's billions of pounds lost in missed appointments. So we're trying to understand the population, the type of people that don't bring their children to clinic. That might be for financial reasons, it may be for transport reasons. We don't really understand. We have an idea, but we're using machine learning now to try and understand that in a better way. I said earlier I'd talk about virtual reality. We've just got 20 headsets in our hospital that we're going to use for distraction and painful procedures. So I'm working with our transformation team. And this is the exciting bit, because what we're saying is, well, where should we put 20 headsets? You know, let's send one there and one there. So we're deploying these headsets to see how they work. And the obvious one is phlebotomy, taking blood. But actually, I've got some of my colleagues saying, well, what about skin prick testing for allergy? What about giving experimental drugs in research? So there's lots of different areas we can use virtual reality for painful procedures. So this is a project that we've completed, but we need to get through the regulatory and commercialization phase. But this came from an idea that we had about delivering rehabilitation in a different way. So I keep harking back to Ivan's presentation, but actually we didn't change the physiotherapy. The physiotherapy is the same. The movements are the same. Everything is the same. The way we deliver it, the way we get from A to B is different. And that difference was virtual reality. So our games developer looked at the movements of the children by watching the physiotherapists, and then started to bring those movements into a game. And this is from the BBC. This is a television clip of the interview that happened with the parent.
Most of our kids have quite a long-term condition that they need to carry on doing their exercises for sometimes several years.
So remember to keep that one held, so a tight grip on the one on your right.
And they're doing the same things day in, day out. It gets really boring, no one wants to do it. Sometimes it's painful. It's just not really fun. They want to be out playing and doing things with their friends.
It's kind of a bit more playing than exercising, even though you are still doing your exercises. Like, it's fun as well. Oh gosh, that's
Do you need a break or anything like that? Is your arm tired or?
No, it's fine.
She didn't find it easy, whereas before she would have given things up very easily, but she wanted to keep going. She wanted to pop another balloon.
Yes, got it.
So, I mean, that's been literally a game changer for these children, but we created a new problem actually, because most of these children say, I don't want to do my game, my exercise, it's boring. Some of the children, you know, a teenager being asked to move their hands like a tiger. You know, okay, right, I've moved my hands like a tiger. Try doing that over and over again every day. Now we can't get the kids off the games. So initially we couldn't get them on, do their exercise. Now we can't get them off them. But it's been a great way in which we have delivered healthcare in a different way. And
my name is Ivan Phelan, and I work as a researcher at Sheffield Hallam University, where we do some work with VR and healthcare. And I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the work we've done with Sheffield Children's Hospital around upper limb rehab. So you have a lot of patients who are admitted to hospital for all sorts of reasons. It could be a bad injury to their arm, it could be congenital, after surgery,
in which the children were asked to move their hand back,
burn patients who had to stretch the skin, and they have to do this over a period of years.
They have to pull the arrow out.
So you can imagine that
and in
could
fact,
be quite frustrating.
The other thing you learn about children when you do these games is they learn
engaging with the
how to
exercises
cheat.
they're giving.
So they were hitting the arrows, you know, pulling them out the side, and so we were having to make some adjustments to get over. The children were really clever.
Kind of engage.
The other one, which I don't know if the guys up here can fast forward it, the other one is a tower game in which the children are climbing. But what we did was, and I spoke about that tiger movement for a reason, which was
match those movements in a gameplay mechanic. So we first of all spoke to some physios
had to climb up and go into various levels, and
the motions that they require for their exercises. One of them was like, behind the back.
This is a different type of rehabilitation. This is lower limb rehabilitation. Now, the reason why I show you is not just more rehabilitation, but this is about being adaptive with the technology. So what we had was a new problem here. We wanted to do lower limb rehabilitation, but we wanted to make sure that it really was for the lower limb. Now, if you think of virtual reality, you've got two hand controllers. But actually what you want to do is rehabilitate the legs. So what you'll see in this clip, this was on Channel 4 News a few weeks ago, what you'll see with this is that my clever colleagues at Sheffield Hallam University created two braces to go around the legs that you could put the controllers in, and so it's tracking the movement of the legs now and not the hands. So
just keep walking down the road. Once you see those monsters, just try to aim at them.
12-year-old Noel is killing monsters and escaping spiders, all within the confines of a corridor at Sheffield Children's Hospital.
It hurts a bit.
He has a rare condition, a venous malformation in his right leg. It means constant operations to help him walk. And after those surgeries, he needs a lot of physiotherapy.
Tell me when it gets really tight.
There.
But using a VR headset to play a game has made that physiotherapy so much more pleasant.
You have to walk through a street, like you just have to shoot monsters by looking at them, and at the end you get to fight a big monster with these yellow targets, and if you get all the yellow targets you'll be able to win the game.
Do you forget that you're actually walking?
I don't realise how far I'm walking because I'm so concentrated on the game with my score.
It's been a massive difference for me because, I mean, the anxiety of knowing that your child's going to be having a lot of pain trying to get out of bed initially, and then trying to get them to actually do a few more steps and, you know, pushing them. It's been nice having him look forward to something, because generally he dreads the physio sessions after an operation, but mention of the VR, he was waking up excited, looking forward to his next session.
And just let me know if it's blurred.
So I'll leave that there, but imagine children waking up and saying, let me have my physiotherapy. That's fantastic. But the physiotherapy is the same. It's just a different way of delivering care, but a way which is hugely popular for children. This is something we've just started on a project, and so I haven't got any film to show you, but we're looking at using virtual reality for social anxiety disorder, and this has become particularly prominent following the pandemic. That there are a lot more children now that are accessing mental health services and suffering with social anxiety as a consequence of being isolated for 2 years or more. So we're now using VR to try and integrate them back into challenging situations using a graded approach to exposure. Don't know if these guys can show this up there in the technical room. If not, don't worry. Okay, so I'll talk while they're doing that about immersive reality. That's probably the advert before YouTube. So this is immersive reality. So we've just put this in on our oncology ward, our cancer ward. And this is basically immersive reality without a headset. So there are 6 projectors, one on the floor, 4 walls, and on the ceiling. But it doesn't seem to be moving. It doesn't matter. But these are touch sensitive, so these children can, you know, some of these children are in hospital for weeks and weeks. And we're creating new environments for them to explore while they're in hospital. And everything is touch sensitive there. So you can see one of our play specialists there in these different environments is starting to move around. Now, one of the questions that I asked quite a while back, probably about a year ago, from one of these companies is, yeah, but what actually if you can't move?
This will make a massive
and they said,
difference
well, we're just trying to work around that. And they're trying to get
it's an escapism for children. They're in hospital for a very long time on the oncology hematology ward with us. So this will be amazing. They can come to the wards, they can see the flowers, they can go to New York, they can go to the beach, automatically blood sugar, turn it off immediately if they get anxious or worried, but we can also work through those feelings, and it means we save.
It's a good example of technology working against me. Okay, this is a different hospital. These are one of my collaborators in NHS at Medtech, Older Hay Children's Hospital, who I'm sure many of you have heard of. They've created a whole augmented reality system about coming to hospital. So you can select a character. So this character here is called Moosey. He's a moose. You can click that. You can click on that, and then here's an avatar that basically navigates you around the hospital. And you can see on the top right there are different parts of the hospital. But this is to reduce anxiety and to help navigate children and their families through the hospital before they come. This is one of my favourite technologies, only because it's frugal in one sense and it's technology focused in another. So what we did was we worked with a company called Dubbit, who are a games developer, who we wanted to reduce anxiety for children coming for MRI scan. So what they did was created this mixed reality play kit. And so I'll just run the 2 videos in tandem. So actually what we do is we send a flat pack, not real size. You're not going to get a flat pack MRI scanner and build it in your front room. It's about this big. And what you do is it's a cardboard cutout, and you build the MRI scanner, and then you use your mobile phone to do the scanning. Now, it doesn't make as much sense there as it will on the next slide. So this is what the cardboard cutout looks like, and the child can select their wee person that goes in there. That's a Playmobil person, and then they select the program on there, and they can then decide which parts of the body they scan. So just press the button there, and then they can select which bit of the body they scan, and there you go, it's scanning. I get that reaction every time. I love this. I think this is so good. But why it's so good is because you can do what kids love to do, which is make things. And it's not just technology, it's about making stuff. And it's actually quite difficult to build. So children then have to interact with their parents to build it together. So it becomes an interactive thing at home, but they also understand the technology that's required to do an MRI scan. So I'm just going to talk briefly about social robots, because I've got a PhD student that's working in this field. We're doing a lot of work around social robots. So one of the projects that we're doing is working out which of the social robots, because there are quite a lot of them, which of the social robots, I'll just show you. That's Miru, that's a kind of androgynous animal. We've got Nell, which is there, and then this is Pepper, who's almost my height. And we're trying to work out whether these robots reduce anxiety in certain settings. So we've looked at them on the oncology ward, on the medical daycare unit, on a theatre admissions unit, and in an outpatient setting. But this will just give you an idea of what's happening, what fun my PhD student has.
I don't like peas, said Daisy. If you eat your peas, you can have 10 puddings, stay up really late, you don't have to rush for 2 whole months, and I'll buy you a new bike. You really want me to eat my peas, don't you?
So Pepper is just telling a story, but we're starting to learn that these robots are reducing anxiety. This boy is in the theatre admissions unit, so clearly going for an operation. But how wonderful that he gets to interact with someone that's telling him a story in a really nice way. You can see he's enjoying it. It's a bit weird, but he's enjoying it.
And I don't like peas, but we both like.
On a completely different area we're looking at is how we deliver remote care. So this is a company called Taito Care that we've been evaluating their product in what's called Yorkshire and Humber, which is the region that Sheffield is in. And we're basically, they've got 2 kits. They've got a professional kit that you can use in the hospital, and then you've got a home kit. But you can see from that previous picture there that this can be done in the home. You can actually use the kit to look inside the throat, in the ears. You can use it to auscultate the heart and the lungs. That information can then be transferred to the clinician in real time and then can be uploaded to an electronic patient record. So there's a real opportunity here to deliver healthcare in a different way, hence the discussion earlier about moving care from the hospital to the home. 3D printing has been used to facilitate operations. So this is a scoliosis of the spine, a curve of the spine, and that has been taken from an MRI scan, 3D printed. So these are my colleagues again in Alder Hey. The surgeons are using it for pre-operative planning. They say it's wonderful. They can really visualize what's going on before they go into an operation. The challenge here, and this comes back to this issue about impact, is you've got to be able to demonstrate that it changes what happens during or after an operation. And it's very difficult to do that because actually we've not managed to demonstrate that so far, which is why I think the uptake of 3D printing hasn't been as popular as I initially thought it would be. I've just put this up because this is this weird and crazy idea that I've got, and I met with a group of people last week about this. This is Microsoft holoportation. So what Microsoft have done is created the HoloLens. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's a sort of augmented reality type set of glasses that you can visualize. You can bring things into the screen and visualize them. And the next step of holoportation is to be able to communicate with somebody in a different place by seeing them in a 3D image. So this girl here, you can see in the top left, there's loads of cameras around her. He can see her in his room in real time in 3 dimensions. So they've called it holoportation. And in fact, it has been applied to healthcare. So Professor Stephen Wu from Glasgow, I've got nothing to do with this project, but Scotland is a very different geography. It's very centralised in its cities with a few people living out on the Highlands, in the Highlands and Islands, some of them having to travel 5 hours to get to a hospital. So what Professor Wu has done, he's a plastic surgeon, is in a centre in Glasgow, speaking to this gentleman here who lives in one of the islands in Scotland, but he can see him in 3 dimensions, so he can start to assess his operations, his movements, etc. I'm not sure how refined it is yet. I've only put it up there because it's just an idea I've got of how can we use it. So I'm thinking about, where this will work, and I've been speaking to colleagues in the hospital about how to be able to deliver this. I'm going to just skip over that because I've got a few more slides. This is something that is a digital platform that we're developing in Sheffield. I'm heading up this project. This is for young people moving in from paediatric to adult healthcare. We're working with a company called DigiBeat, and we're creating a chatbot that will basically, that young people can access to find out about their healthcare, what to do, what things they need. Because transition, the movement from paediatric to adult healthcare, is terrible. Imagine a young person that has been looked after, wraparound care in a children's hospital, then they go into this crazy world of adult healthcare, not knowing what to do. So we're using this platform with additional materials to help facilitate that process. But the other reason why I put it up here was this. So when I think about a chatbot, I think about this amazing avatar. I think about the film Avatar and and I think that's what kids want. They want this really high-tech avatar. We've worked with a focus group. That's what they wanted. They wanted that, which I looked and thought, I really don't understand children anymore. I'm getting too old. But what they wanted actually was just a simple smiley face there, so that's their avatar as they created it. Coming to the last part of my presentation now, but I want to show you this just because we spoke earlier about impact, and technology is really changing children's lives. And we've been working with this company. It's a company called Sight Plus, and their technology is called Give Vision. And what it's actually doing is it's taking children and adults that have terribly poor sight. They can practically see through a pinpoint, and it is changing their sight in a way that's never been done before through the technology. I'll just show you this video just to show you really how technology has impact. Oh, they're going to run it for me. That's it. Can we have the sound?
You all right, Charlie?
Thank you.
Charlie. Charlie? What's wrong?
It works.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
Are you just really pleased?
I died.
Take it off for a minute, buddy, you'll get it wet.
I love that typical Yorkshire phrase, take it off, buddy, you'll get it wet. But actually, that boy could not see. Genuinely, he is practically blind, and now he can go to school. Well, he was going to school anyway, but he can go to school with his peers, he can read books, he can watch the television. Imagine I made this whole room black. You couldn't see anything, and then I just flicked the lights on, and you could see that screen. That's what he can see now. That's changed his life. So that's impact. And this is what we've got to aim for, is changing these young people's lives for good. Finally, on my aspiration, which is almost a reality, which is in Sheffield, we are going to build the National Centre for Child Health Technology. It is not a hospital. It is far from a hospital, but it will have clinical activity in there. But the plan is, this is going to be a big centre. It's 4,000 square metres. It will bring industry, academics, healthcare professionals into the centre, all to work collaboratively to support child health technology development. We're almost there with the funding. If we get the funding, this will be built by 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.